Pleasant good evening. I'm Daniel Anker and welcome to the Week in Review. This is a 45-minute program that brings to you all of the major happenings of the week. This program catalogs all of those major issues that you may have missed out on during the course of the week. So join me and let's give you an update of what happened this past week. In our first story this evening, Vice President Howard Taylor is calling for sustainable development, peace, unity and security between Morocco and other nations in the world. She spoke recently at the Crans-Montana Forum in Dakar, Morocco.
We have been a constant supporter of the South-South dialogue for many years, and we're part of the forging of political and economic ties with developing nations. From a regional perspective, the South-South cooperation is a major tool for political consolidation, peace and security, and investment and trade. The mechanisms that are discussed amongst our nations can be utilized to boost trade, peace, security, and ensuring that the young people are a part of the new Africa that we hope to see. Some of the other issues that we must continue to think about are joint border patrols, a change of surveillance, peacekeeping operations, security cooperation, and forest management, amongst others. I come from a nation with a history of devastating civil conflict, and the successful utilization of the South-South mechanisms have helped us to be able to go through a democratic process and come up with a government that is now on its feet, striving to establish a stable and secure future for not just Liberia, but the West African region as a whole. Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, while we recognize the important role that the North-South cooperation has played and will continue to play in harnessing development initiatives in our regions, the South-South triangular framework is relevant and necessary for the current trends of pursuing sustainable development goals. Though some solutions of yesterday may not apply to today's challenges, we are in a rapidly changing world. We must muster the courage to take bold and decisive decisions that include recognizing the increasing role emerging and non-traditional players can play. I therefore call on all of our partners in our countries in the South-South and our global partners to boldly seize the new opportunities that will be discussed over the next 2 days and commit our governments and our partnerships to promote economic and social transformations that celebrate inclusive and shared prosperity, particularly for women and youth on the continent.
Vice President Howard Taylor speaking earlier this week in Morocco. The Speaker of the House of Representatives, Dr. Bob Chambers, says the legislature remains fully committed to its oversight responsibility in the interest of the country. Speaker Chambers said they're working effectively to ensure the practical implementation of laws on the books to help meet the needs of the people. He said the CDC-led government will ensure priority is placed on the implementation of quality laws that are on the books.
The execution of the law is more important than its making. Now, Liberia has lots of laws. I mean, people should not be bombarding lawmakers with how much laws have you made? How much volume of laws do you want? You know, somebody...
So what is the problem?
The execution of the law. So the oversight should go with, you know, that which has been legislated, okay, so that things can happen. In fact, in my mind, there are a lot of laws. Even imagine at the time of
$20 million cannot be collected by the government to support the national budget due to the failure of these companies to support the national cause.
Not good. Where you are not, and you pray to be there, support those who are there, so when you get there too, you can be supported. It doesn't mean that when things go wrong you can't say it, but say it with good taste. So I'll try to work in the interest of our people. Of course, we didn't say it wouldn't be hard. It's challenging, But the songwriter says that God has risen people up to walk on mountains. He also said that God has risen people up to walk on stormy seas. Okay. He also said that we are on the shoulders of the Lord, so that while we are strong, he also said that he has made us stronger than we can ever think. So God has not brought
from the Baptist Church.
I'm a Catholic. Oh. So God has not reached us this far to let us down. And I think in my mind, let us be very realistic. There will be criticism. We need criticism to move this country.
House Speaker Dr. Buffalo Chambers. The Liberia Institute of Statistics and Geoinformation Services has unveiled a plan for the conduct of the 2019 Liberia Demography and Health Survey across the country. The survey, which is conducted every 5 years, looks at health and housing-related issues. According to the head of the survey, Jemu Baokwea, this year's exercise will take place in April as part of health component HIV, Ebola prevalence, including the estimate of mortality and fertility rates in Liberia.
HIV prevalence rate in the population is served as a burden on the population, right? Because the government are going to be providing treatment for those who have the condition. It serves as a burden. So even the hepatitis B, we are going to be able to estimate the prevalence so that we can know exactly how hepatitis event or is present within the population. So the impact is not going to be on one individual, because we are going to be measuring the entire population, not the entire 4.5, but a sample size from the entire population, and from those sample size, we are going to be inferring back on the population after the estimation. DHS is in the tune of 3.7 million, but that 3.7 million is being categorized by donors. We have UNICEF, PA, WHO, CDC, the USAID. And these are partners or donors who have been able to mobilize resources so that we can jumpstart their activities.
Are there specific tools you'll be using, and how long you intend to carry on this survey?
The tools will be using the questionnaire, but currently we are going to change from the paper base to the copy. That is, we want to use the smartphones to be able to capture the information.
Well, meanwhile, Mr. Baokwea says the Liberian statisticians also provided more updates about the importance of the survey, including what its impact will be for the country.
The Liberian Demographic Health Survey, in short, the LDHS, is normally conducted after every 5 years in all of the countries, but sometimes if they are measuring a rare diseases that you cannot be able to estimate in time, so you can be able to do the time frame in 5 years. So in the public health setting, we normally estimate prevalence as it relates to diseases in the population. So as you see, the 2012 LDHS took into account, we only estimated, for example, the HIV prevalence rate for Liberia, right? But this time we are going to be incorporating both the HIV, now hepatitis, and Ebola. So if you see that indeed in Liberia, we experience that indeed the prevalence, despite it have not been estimated, but we want to do it so that we can see the prevalence rate of hepatitis B, because it's becoming prevalence in Liberia. So the project will take into account.
That's the boss of Legis, Jemu Baokwea. Moving on now to the president's visit to Dubai. Liberian leader President George Weah is in Dubai, the United Arab Emirates, on an official visit. The president delegation arrived Tuesday of this week and began holding series of discussions aimed at sourcing support for the government's pro-poor agenda. On the line from Abu Dhabi is Presidential Press Secretary I. Solo Kelber.
He arrived this morning 7:30, and the president has hit the ground running. He has been holding meetings, and one of those he met is Sultan Ahmed Al-Shabaab. He is the Minister of State in the UAE. He is also the Director General and CEO of Abu Dhabi National Oil Company. They call it the ALEC Group. He is also the Chairman of Maghreb and the Chairman of Abu Dhabi Ports. He is also an advocate for alternative energy. And this meeting has been very fruitful discussion. Both leaders discuss issues issues of bilateral ties. But what is more interesting is the willingness of the United Arab Emirates leadership to fully pledge their support in helping the president achieve his agenda. The minister said, we are going to work with you and work with Liberians to make sure that you succeed. So he has expressed interest in a lot of sectors. In addition to agriculture, we will be talking about, but he's very much interested in helping Liberia with their rural connectivity.
Liberia's permanent representative to the United Nations, Ambassador D. Maxwell Sarkemia, has described as remarkable President Weah's practical commitment and support to the empowerment of women in Liberia. Ambassador Kemia made the comments recently at an array of Liberia's delegation attending an ongoing 63rd session of the Commission on the Status of Women in the United States.
I find it prudent to first express immense appreciation to His Excellency Dr. George Manneh Weah, President of the Republic of Liberia, for his unflinching practical commitment and support to the empowerment of women in Liberia, especially in his role as feminist-in-chief. The composition as well as the size of the Liberian delegation to the 63rd CSW, which reflects a broad spectrum of the women, girls, and he for she's of Liberia, is a clear manifestation that the Liberian government is committed to availing opportunities to all the women throughout the length and breadth of the Republic of Liberia. Under the theme for the 63rd CSW, and including the just ended Liberian side event, you all have clearly disseminated to the world practical initiatives taking place in Liberia aimed at advancing the lives of women, girls, the vulnerable, persons with disabilities, and the marginalized.
D. Maxwell Sarkemia is Liberia's permanent representative to the United Nations. Well, Gender Minister Willamita CDP Sotar is also attending the Commission on the Status of Women conference in the United States.
From 2010 to 2014, over 3,000 households were on cash transfer in 2 of the poorest counties in Liberia during the pilot project. Of those households, about 70% of them were all female beneficiaries. The midterm evaluation of the program conducted by the Center for Global Health and Development at Boston University in June 2012, titled External Evaluation of the Booming Social Cash Transfer Pilot Final Report, demonstrated the significance and the impact of cash transfer on households on improving their livelihood and improving food security. Children were put in schools, there were provision of meals, homes were improved in a number of ways, people even built houses, people had access to health, and household income generating activities increased, such as soap making and small markets, and we were able to see a lot of different things happen and get boosted for those who were beneficiaries. It also became glaringly clear the cash transfer was significantly contributing to the education and health sectors, as well as the empowerment of women and girls.
Well, that's Gender Minister Willamita Piso Senita there speaking. Well, let's get on to the most talk about Firestone issue now. The Secretary General of the Agriculture, Agro-Processing and Industrial Workers Union of Liberia, Edwin Sisco, has disclosed the best move to Liberia's agriculture sector forward. To move the sector forward is diversification. He spoke recently in an ELBC interview.
For the agricultural sector in our national economy, the way to go is diversification. There is nothing else we can do. We have to diversify. In as much as rubber is on the downtrend, there are other crops, you know, that traditionally Liberians are being plenty, like cocoa, coffee, and other stuff. So definitely, even rice. So we need to diversify, and we think if government can get involved in the entire process, and all of the parties can get on the table, we'll definitely try to avoid this situation, which is very, very critical to our national economy. Also inform our national government through the labor regulatory agencies, which is the Ministry of Labor, considering this particular aspect, and we indicated that the government should take it very seriously. we placed an urgent attention to this notice, to the point that we even asked the minister to engage the office of the president, because at this time in our history, with our shrinking economy, you cannot lay off thousands of workers, and you know the devastation and the impact, considering the livelihood income of thousands of workers, at this time is very critical.
Well, Mr. Cisco at the same time is calling on Firestone Liberia to look at its number of persons to be redundant and reduce such numbers. It will cause an economic catastrophe to the country.
From a historical perspective, the issue regarding redundancy, especially at the plantation, at Firestone Liberia, is not strange. Firestone has, over the years, carried out redundancies, depending on the growth of the production area, of their workforce. Of their workforce. And so this has been something that have been done, from time to time. And while redundancy is going on, at the same time too, they can also be carrying out employment, because it's an agricultural setting. Yes. At certain time, certain part of the plantation will be old and they will cut down the trees for replanting. At the same time, other parts of the plantation will be at production level and they will start to employ. But what is alarming concerning this current trend? So you agree that it's a normal practice? No, definitely it is a normal practice. But what is alarming concerning this current trend is that the measure that the company has currently indicated that they will be taking is not conclusive.
The Ministry of Public Works is said to be monitoring the performance of drainage systems recently constructed along roads in Montserrat County. Speaking at an ELBC interview on Wednesday, the Assistant Minister at the Ministry of Public Works, James Reynolds, said they have identified serious challenges in waterways, mainly along the Doe Community Road, which is as a result of the wetland situation.
These issues have been raised, and we are cognizant of these issues. The Minister, a couple of weeks ago, paid a visit to the Doe Community Road. Some of the residents of the area raised those issues. We raised our own concerns with the contractor. The technical team at the ministry agreed that it would be useful for us to observe the performance of the drainages. This is the first major rainy season that the road is about to experience, and so some more conclusions can be drawn from there. As you know, the Doe community is a wetland area, and so there are serious challenges in terms of discharge. The seawater is somewhere, or let's rather river, and seawater, the riverside is somewhere, I think 10 or 20 meters away from the Clareton Field area that you are describing. So you can imagine that most of the people in the periphery of that area will be in the sort of the mouth of the river. So we are aware of this, and we went there, we observed it. We decided on some ways to mitigate the problem, as well as ensuring that as it performs during the rainy season, it gives us a better understanding of what we needed to do. So those things have been certainly considered. The consultant also, and based on recommendations, in ways we can improve the drainage performance. And so
Meanwhile, Assistant Minister Reynolds says massive progress is in the making for the government to execute what it calls chip sealing roads in some parts of the country. The minister has been explaining what chip sealing roads are meant for.
What we do with chip seal is a law. We construct a pavement, we pave these roads, we do the surveys and put in some crush aggregates and then pave the road, but we don't use the normal asphalt. It's a mixture of chipping or crush rock and bitumen that we use to seal the top of the road rather than the usual asphalt. And that allows for a lower cost of construction, and also is very effective in terms of for areas where there are lower traffic volume. So the government started to look at these things for non-primary roads. Primary roads are those that connect our main county capital, and they have higher traffic volume.
So what was last spend of
the test results that come in so far, and the information we know. Chip seal is not new to engineers. It's something that's been done in Ghana, in Angola, and so many other countries in the US as well. And the road normally goes, the average lifespan of the road is between 10 to 15 years. And usually maintenance is done after about 6 to 7 years, especially when it's done properly. The most effective thing about it is that it's quite easy to construct. Once you gather the equipment and you gather the skills, you can do it much faster than.
The Ministry of Public Works says equipment for the installation of a new bridge connecting Riverside County to other counties in the southeast is in the country. This bridge is called the Timber River Bridge. According to the Assistant Public Works Minister for Planning and Programs, James Reynolds, currently they've created a detour until the bridge is fixed.
They completed the center pier for that bridge, and we realized that going into the rainy season when the bridge is delaunched, that bridge serves as a major corridor for residents in the area and even for conduit, people transmitting hospital supplies, logistics, it's a livelihood, and it cannot just be completely discontinued for an extensive period of time. So we had a meeting with the contractor, and we agreed that we do a temporary bypass whilst the village bridge is delaunched and a new bridge is launched to replace that. I also just want to emphasize that the new bridge that is needed to be installed is already in country. We've had a new bridge in country for some time, and the contractor is quite prepared to do the delaunching and the relaunching of the new bridge. So we are currently on course with constructing the detour. Within a week or two, we expect that detour will be started and probably.
Well, for the first time in Liberia, the West African Blue Oceans Conference has taken place. The conference, which officially opened on Wednesday of this week, brought together participants from across Liberia and other parts of the world. But what really is it all about? Sokwe Beslo-Kone has got a report for us.
For the first time ever, Liberia is hosting the Blue Oceans Conference, an environmental and marine conference in West Africa, representing a historic moment for the country. The conference provides a stage to identify areas of sustainable management of Liberia's ecosystem. It began on Monday, March 18, 2019, and was officially launched on Wednesday, March 20 in Monrovia. Mr. Jesla Mori is Liberia's Minister of Mines and Energy. He spoke at the opening of the conference.
We must share best practices and experiences. Most solutions are local, but many have broader relevance. Liberia has a critical role to play, judging from its rich maritime history. We are committed to providing integrated, coordinated support for the implementation of relevant agreements on the ocean.
Also speaking was the Deputy Director General of the National Fisheries and Aquaculture Authority, NAFA, Mr. Augustine Manombala.
We need a call to action to muster a collective approach from all sector agencies in mitigating these challenges, which might have serious impact on the sustainability of the fishery resources and health of our ocean.
For their parts, the head of Development Cooperation at the Swedish Embassy, Elizabeth Harleman, and the country representative of Conservation International, Jessica Donovan Allen, pledged their organization's support to the Liberian government.
Today, there are also a growing number of examples of how unsustainable marine resources use can lead to violations of people's right to life, health, and safety. This is why investments in environmental sustainability, including sustainable marine use, is a prerequisite for poverty reduction.
Many thanks to Sokwe Beslo-Kone for that report. The government of Liberia is calling on Firestone's management to halt its redundancy plan. Recently, Firestone management announced a redundancy plan of 800 workers during the second quarter of 2019. But in its official position statement, the government has proposed a negotiation settlement. Here's Deputy Information Minister for Public Affairs, Eugene Fagon.
During the discussions, the government requested a negotiated settlement that will prevent or delay the planned layoffs. The government proposed to work with Firestone to address concerns about its current business model. In response, the management of Firestone informed the government that the company has incurred losses of around USD 20 million annually for the past 10 or more years, and is at the point where the situation can no longer be sustained. The management clarified that the layoffs will actually affect 600 people, as the other 200 workers are normal retirees. The company further informed the government that 200 of the affected employees work at the Rubberwood plant, which has been shutting down in the past several years because the USD 16 million it invested in the plant has not proven viable for the company. As a result, the company plans to sell the business or shut it down totally. The management agreed to remain engaged with the government on different options the GOL is proposing.
Well, the President of the Republic of Liberia, His Excellency George Weah, will shortly arrive in the country from Dubai. But Deputy Information Minister Eugene Fagon has been given an update as to the President's visit to Dubai.
The President arrived in the UAE on Tuesday, March 19, 2019, to a colorful and exciting reception from authorities of the country, including the Crown Prince of Abu Dhabi and the Deputy Supreme Commander of the UAE Armed Forces, His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan. The UAE leaders, at the end of the meeting with President Weah, immediately set up a technical working group comprising civil engineers, agricultural experts, and other technocrats, mandated to travel to Liberia for an assessment and to conclude final arrangements for immediate direct investment. We are pleased to announce that the team is expected to travel to Morocco as early as April 2019. So that's some good news. The Director General of the National Fisheries and Aquaculture Authority, NAFA, Director General Emma Glasgow, is currently visiting the World Bank headquarters in Washington, D.C., and has held fruitful discussions with authorities of the World Bank in continuation of the West African Regional Fisheries Project WAP in Liberia. The NAFA boss visited the World Bank office is followed up on a $21 million fishery project under the West African Regional Fisheries Project, WAP. The $21 million United States from the World Bank will be used to construct a modern state-of-the-art fishing and processing facility and the establishment of landing jets to be targeted in several coastal counties, to be exact 5, including Montserrat. Additionally, the project is in continuation of the first phase of the West African Regional Fisheries Project 1.
Well, that's Deputy Minister for Public Affairs Eugene Fagon there speaking. Well, following Firestone's initial statement that it was to lay off 800 persons, the company has clarified that 600 persons are up to be laid off and 200 persons are those that will be legally retired. A concerned Liberian, Jiple Yinswa, is calling on Firestone management to rethink its decision to lay off the 600 employees of the from the company.
200 stay high. In fact, 200 stay high. So what we're going to do is that we appeal to Firestone, because you know what happened is that the fact that the economy is into a bad situation, the best thing Firestone can do for us now is to hold the people and see how well we all can work together. Because the fact of the matter is that they've been in the country since 1926. We all need to help to see how well we can make our country improve and because in the absence of this country that like we all in disarray and be in devastation, the fact of the matter is that they said the United States will not operate. So the fact that we need a stable country and we need a stable economy, they all need to join us and see how well we can negotiate. 800 persons will be out. It means that 800 times 10 is a number. I said, no, you're talking about that. You're talking about stopping them from eating from their home. So is that we asking the fact that the government have started the negotiation and started the process. We want to appeal to Firestone to understand the situation, the economic situation that we're ongoing now, so that they can pull out to that process while they and government into negotiation, so so that indeed they can see what they can do, what government is working out thing, talking to international partners, talking to developed country to see how more investors can come so that our economy can be improved. But for
Jible Yinswa, a political commentator there speaking. Well, as the National Social Security and Welfare Corporation, NASCOR, as a means of enhancing its operations, NASCOR says it's explaining processes to acquire pension benefits by many Liberians who are asking such questions. Deputy NASCOR Director General Jan Twain made the comments at the Ministry of Information regular press briefing this week.
I know fully well you are interested in a lot of news that have been coming. I think that's why I'm interested in following the Ministry of Information, of course, here, because there have been a lot of misgivings. And we heard a lot of protests that people never wanted to come to NASCOR because they were already with NASCOR. And what I want to let you know publicly today is that if you were already 60 years old and getting both pension, you will still get both pension. And that's what is happening right now. Those who were transferred from the Ministry of Finance and the CSA, they are getting both the NASCOR pension and that pension, that if you qualify for both. If you retire based on tenure and then you were receiving only the Ministry of Finance and the CSA pension, the transferring to NASCOR, you are still receiving that pension. But you will not get a NASCOR pension until you turn 60. The good thing about it is that many of them did not understand was when the CSA and the Ministry of Finance were conducting that pension, there were deductibles, there were tax deductions from that pension.
Well, at the same time, the NASCOR deputy boss, Jan Twain, says efforts are being made to amend the pension law of Liberia to avoid influx of the payroll.
Because if we kept retiring people at the age, because they spent 25 years and above, what will start happening will keep adding people on the payroll. And I gave you a typical contradiction here. Let's assume you started working at the age of 20. By the time you're 45 years old, based upon the old law, as an active civil servant, there was a need now to have you retire by law because you have spent 25 years working with a ministry or agency. Now we're making 45 years old senior citizens who were active to duty. And what started happening at some point, if you were so valuable to the corporation or the ministry that you serve, they retire you and rehire you as a contractor or a consultant so that you can keep working. And all of those add up to the payroll and bloated recurring expenditure.
Jan Twain is the Deputy Director General at NASCOR. Liberia yesterday joined the rest of the world in celebrating World Water Day. The day was celebrated under the theme, Leave No One Behind. At an indoor program at the Monrovia City Hall, the orator, Grand Bassa County Senator Jonathan Kape, challenged stakeholders in the 15 counties to add their voices for the legislature to allot monies in improving the sector.
We must encourage every county to allot a specific percentage of their county development fund, every county sitting, to the provision of safe drinking water for its citizens. These are some practical steps we need to venture as the government to ensure that we uphold the right to safe drinking water for our people. Let it be clear that there are other countries around the world who make similar sacrifices to provide resources in the national budget for the provision of safe drinking water for its citizens. In another section, Mr. Minister will elaborate on the lower section. And so we call on the water sector as we move towards the acceptance of this expected budget, that the necessary program budget that will facilitate government efforts to provide the necessary resources for your operation will be brought to the legislature.
Well, in also making remarks at the World Water Day program, the head of the WASH Commission, Bobby Wilfield, disclosed that no citizen should die as a result of water water-borne diseases.
Liberia is a water-rich country, yes. We've got, pretty close to 76% water coverage, yes. But we still have to make a lot more effort up to that number. And a lot of commitment is going into it. But I want to start with enjoying every one of you actually asking all of our sector actors to participate in the event tomorrow in the observance of World Water Day. This is very important. It's meant to shed light on the challenges faced across the globe in terms of safe drinking water to humanity. In terms of safe drinking water to humanity, the statistic is very alarming. 2.1 billion people across the world don't have access to safe drinking water. In Liberia, in some villages, it will be 100% of our people in those villages that we are speaking about.
The chairman of the board of directors of the Forestry Development Authority, Harrison Conway, is calling on every humankind to take the responsibility of protecting the environment for the good of conserving. Speaking at the celebration of International Day of the Forest, Mr. Conway challenged rubber farmers to develop a new and productive means of cultivating rubber without hampering the forest.
So all of us who live on this planet Earth have to take note and start to play our respective roles to conserve the environment. And since I'm a rubber farmer, rubber which has been one of the drivers of deforestation in the region, can also play a very important role in conserving the forest. Rubber farm is also a forest, but you can make it even more productive if you start to intercrop with compatible tree crops, such as cocoa and coffee. It's more profitable, it reduces competition for land, and increases farmers' profitability. During the period when latex is not yet coming, you can start.
Well, serving as keynote speaker at the celebration of International Day of the Forest, Professor John Woods also called for concrete actions to be taken to sustain the forest in protected areas.
This is why the premise of the national forest reform in 2005 drafted the 3 C's. The policy and the law provides for 30% of the national forest area to be 800 conservation areas. This 30% is 2/3 of the 2/3 property to the open region in West Africa. The biodiversity content of this forest, like I will do by scientists in 1999, will be globally conservation significant. A framework for educational requirement for biodiversity conservation in the 21st.
Well, in remarks, the Deputy FDA Managing Director, Joseph Talley, stressed the importance of conserving the forest, noting that illegal use of the area threatens the survival of humans.
That the forest is a source of food, source of livelihood activities for all humankind on this planet. If my statistics still remains constant, about 2 billion people of the world depends on the forest for livelihood. And that means we have 20% of the world population living on the forest. Now, why is this important for us to learn about the importance of forest? Because many of us, or almost all of us, are conducting and carrying out legal activities in the forest. And if we do not have it informed to resist or mitigate the illegal activities in the forest, we will end up having no forest and our lives will be at stake, or even our survival will be threatened. So, we know illegal activities start from all stakeholders or interest into the forest. For example, we have the logging companies that may carry out some activities that are illegal. We have the mine company, we have the farmers, we even have the charcoal producers, and those who are harvesting what we call the non-forest or non-timber forest.
The Chargé d'Affaires at the European delegation to Liberia has called for support to civil society and community-based organizations in Liberia for the enhancement of good governance. Mr. Juan Frutos said civil society organizations are fundamental actors in any democratic government. He spoke at the launch of a project for roadmap for road development in the country.
It's a great honor and a great pleasure for me to be here today, as I said, because civil society organizations are fundamental, crucial, critical partners of the European Union worldwide, and of course also in Liberia. Why? Because civil society organizations are fundamental actors in any democratic governance process. They are often best placed to know what the population's needs in terms of development, economic and social challenges are. The EU considers civil society as an essential partner, as I said, to make sure that their voice is present in our partnership with other governments, in this case with the Liberian government.
He's the head of the European Union delegation to Liberia, Juan Frutos. Well, folks, that's how we come to the end of tonight's edition of the Week in Review. It comes away every Saturday from 7 till 7:45. Thanks to all of you. This program catalogs major issues that happened during the course of the week. I've been your anchor for this evening, Daniel Anchor. Do have a wonderful evening and good night.